Welcome to another session of Pellet Tech 101. Today I have a Harman stove. In particular, this is a Harman Advance, and I want to show you how we replace the Auger feed motor inside of this unit. Now this is an older model that has the chain-driven feed system. Some of the earlier Harmans will have that. Some of the newer models will have a direct drive feed motor. But all of the disassembly and then installing a new Auger motor is very similar with all of them. But in the chain drive in particular, there's a couple extra steps, and I'd like to go through the 101 with you on this now. So we just have a few basic tools that we need. I have a 5/16 wrench with a little socket attachment on the back side of it. I have a 3/16 inch Allen wrench right here. And then I have a socket and a ratchet with an extension. This is a 7/16 inch socket on here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and we're going to loosen up the bolt that's inside of the tensioner wheel. This is a nylon tensioner wheel that helps keep our chain tight. So we just want to go ahead and loosen that up, give a little slack within the chain. There's a nut on the back side of this. I'm just kind of holding that with my backside finger, and I'm just loosening that up a little bit, and that tensioner wheel will drop down, and again just allows a little bit of slack in that chain there. The next thing that I want to do is I'm actually going to loosen, there's 4 bolts that hold the actual motor to the mounting bracket. So I'm going to use my my wrench here. This back side has a nice little socket tool, which is quite handy. So we're just loosening these up. We're not pulling them all the way out. Again, we have 4 of them, 1 in each corner. And once I have these all loosened, I can then push that in, and it allows a lot of slack to take place inside of that chain. Now we have a Allen set screw on the side here of this large socket that's securing it to the shaft. So what I'm looking to do is I'm just looking to loosen that up, and then I can pull the large part right off and down. So now my auger motor is exposed. Again, I don't need to pull these bolts all the way out. I simply need to pull them there. They'll drop right out of those notches. And from here I have a black and a white wire that connect up here to the black and white lead. I have a small zip tie here that's holding that in, so we just want to go ahead and snip that to make it easier for ourselves. And so basically I'm just going to disconnect the black, disconnect the white, just like that. Our auger motor is out of the unit. Now that we have the auger motor out of the unit, I'm going to show you how we go ahead and we reassemble this. Now for the most part, when you receive a new auger motor replacement, it's not going to have these 4 bolts mounted in there. So you do want to pull these out and then thread them in about halfway into the new motor so you're ready to install it in the stove. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the motor back in place in the mounting bracket here. So I'm just simply lining those up. That's going to slide in, and I'm just going to kind of leave that loose for right now, and that way I can go ahead and I can reinstall the wires. So again, as I pulled this apart, it's a black white, it's a black white. I'm going to reinstall it the same way, black to black, white to white. And then we do want to get another little zip tie right up there, which we'll do at the very end. We'll get a little zip tie to make sure that those wires are nice and secure and they don't have a chance of moving around. So now that I have the motor back in place, again, I'm still going to leave this loose. I'm going to take my chain right here in my socket. Again, it's important that the chain runs on the top of the tensioner ball here. And again, we have this Allen set screw that's right in place in this socket, and it's important that that is going to mount on the flat shaft of the auger motor here. So obviously I can pivot this socket around as needed so that I make sure that I'm tightening down that Allen screw right on the flat spot of that shaft. So we're going to make sure first that the chain is all the way on the smaller sprocket, number 1. We have it on the upward side of that chain tensioner. And then I'm going to put it right on the auger motor shaft. As you can see, this can go all the way this way. It can be out. General rule of thumb is we like to see this flush with the edge of that shaft right here. And again, our chain really should be right in the center of this nylon tensioner here. So once I have this set, I do want to go ahead and I want to lock this down before locking in my actual auger motor to that mounting plate. So I'm just going to grab my 3/16 inch Allen wrench. And again, I'm just making sure that I'm tightening it right up on that flat part of that shaft. It's very important. And with this one, I do want to give it a nice, there's no need to really over tighten it, but I do want to make sure that it's nice and secure, nice and snug. Now that we have that in place, I want to tighten this up. As you can see, there's a lot of slack within this chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to pull this. And I'm going to kind of hold that with one hand as I take my 5/16 inch wrench and I tighten up my auger motor bolts. We do want a little slack in the chain, but we don't want it like this. So goal is I'm going to kind of hold that tight with my hand. I'm going to grab my wrench here with my handy socket attachment on the other side. We're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten up our auger motor to that mounting bracket. Same thing here, I don't need to over tighten, but I do want to make sure that everything is nice and snug and secure. Just like that. Again, we have a nice little play here. In our tensioner ball right here, this does move up and down, so we can control that. But again, you just want a little bit of wiggle room, maybe a ½ inch up or down with that chain. But for the most part, it should be pretty taut inside there. So the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten down this tensioner ball with my 7/16 inch socket. Attach the ratchet here. Again, this does have a nut on the back side of this, so I usually just kind of hold that with one finger. And I just want to make sure that this is all the way secured in. Again, I can move this up or down slightly to make sure that I have proper tension within that chain. So that is the replacement of a Harman auger motor. Again, before this gets closed up, I am going to make sure that I put a little zip tie around those wires. But that's it. Thanks again for joining us for another session of Pellet Tech 101. Feel free to comment on this video if you need any assistance. We're always here to help, and I look forward to seeing you soon.